Professor Sada and Professor Turo, both amazing researchers looking to bring the Pokemon of the distant future and the ancient past into our world through the power of the Terra Crystals, creating a time machine which brought so many of these Pokemon into the great crater of Paldea, into our time. These Pokemon are extremely powerful and unique, and I've always wondered, if Professor Sada and Professor Turo battled one another, who would win? Which paradox time is the strongest? The past or the future? Today, we find out. Let's begin. Oh my effing Lord Arceus, was this vote so skewered. Something tells me that if I did not give my viewers the option to vote for my Hatterene, apparently, if I did not give you kiddies the option to vote for my hat in this battle in which the Hatterene takes no place in whatsoever, I have a feeling that Sada's vote percentage would be much higher than what it is right now. Seriously, why do you people vote for the hat? I specifically told you not to vote for the hat. Alright, now moving on, before I actually battled Sada or Turo for this, I did a ton of research into this project, but I was unable to learn a few key details about these two. First, I'm unaware if any of the professor's Pokemon had EVs or natures, but I'm assuming since this is Game Freak, they probably made them all neutral natures with no EVs, and I'm assuming since this is the final boss, they made them perfect 31 IVs. Like most of their big boss fights in the past Pokemon games. Cynthia not counting because Game Freak didn't directly handle that game. Alright? Game Freak didn't make Cynthia in that game, alright? We good? We good. Given that knowledge, I have it so that all of the teams I'm using are as exact as possible to their story counterparts, moves and all, with serious natures, a neutral nature so that no stat is lowered or increased, and all will be bottle capped for 31 perfect IVs. I'll also only equip a single booster energy for authenticity to this battle, using the one given in the lab just prior to your fighting Sada and Turo. Now, before we begin the fight, we need to look over how these two teams play out, because past and future Pokemon act differently to one another. The past Pokemon tend to be more focused on their roles, while the future Pokemon tend to be more varied in their abilities and their strengths. Starting off, Turo and Sada's teams both have 6 Paradox Pokemon between them, with equal stats among them. Combined, they have a stat total of 3,440. With this, you'd think they were evenly matched, but oh, you'd be wrong. See, the Pokemon on their teams tend to not use all of those stats, and some are wasted because of it. But this is beneficial depending on the Pokemon. As an example, Roaring Moon has a massive 590 stats, but nobody uses its special attack stat of 55 in favor of its massive 139 attack stat. This means that it actually has a stat total of 535, since Sada isn't using the special attack stat either. Alright, and after crunching some numbers, we find out that, the future is actually wasting some of its stats. Not by much, apparently, but after the numbers, Sada leads by 49 points in terms of how many stats she's actually using for her whole team. Because Turo, despite having one of the coolest designs for a future Paradox, is wasting 120 of those with Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant's special attack stat is wasted since Turo's only knows physical moves, and as such, I deducted those 120 points. If it had even one special attack, then Turo would be leading by a massive amount. As such, Sada and the past take the win here. Moving on, I matched each of the Paradoxes with the entirety of the other's team to see if a one-on-one fight who would come out based on the move types each Pokemon learned compared to the types of their opponent. And, unsurprisingly, Professor Sada is currently coming out on top, at least compared to the votes. Sada's Pokemon beats Turo's with 16 wins to 14, a small but noticeable lead. I didn't count evenly matched fights for this, so there are some missing data points here. But at most, on average, each of the Pokemon had between 0 to 1 evenly matched up Pokemon types, with only a notable exception of 1 or maybe 2. However, when it comes to how many losses each Pokemon had, looking at the chart again, you will see that Sada's team suffered heavily in this category, with 17 matchups not in her favor compared to Turo's 14. You can even scroll back and check for yourself. So that's 2 points to Sada and 1 for Turo. Now, regarding each team, each of them possess a powerful ace. This ace will always carry the booster energy, increasing the Pokemon's strongest stat by 30% if it's an attack stat, or 50% if it's the speed stat. In this case of Sada and Turo's aces, Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant. This means their attack stat will always rise, as those two are the highest stats. And as we stated earlier, Roaring Moon has the upper hand here. It's only wasting 55 of its stats, while Iron Valiant drops the ball with 120 stats, simply because it doesn't use a special attack stat. That's another point for Sada. She is really kicking butt here. However, Turo has the upper hand here, since Iron Valiant has one super duper strength over Roaring Moon, and that is its type matchup. For the last time, God, go away! Nobody's talking to you! But as I was saying, yes. Because of Iron Valiant's duo typing of Fairy and Fighting, it has resistances and an immunity to 3 of Roaring Moon's moves, whereas Roaring Moon has a crippling ×4 weakness to Fairy, which Valiant has and is. All Valiant has to do is score one hit. One hit and Valiant wins if it comes down to an ace v ace battle. On the downside to Valiant, Roaring Moon makes up for this weakness by having the faster and stronger attack stats. So if Valiant is weakened, there is a good chance that Roaring Moon wins the exchange thanks to it knowing Earthquake and having the booster energy to increase its already impressive attack stat, thanks to the fact that it just outspeeds Valiant ever so slightly. It's not looking good for Turo, but the match ain't over yet. Turo does have a few tricks up his sleeve. See, while Sada went all-out aggression for her team, Professor Turo slipped in a bit of tech to his Pokemon Iron Bundle, a little move called Snowscape. Because Iron Bundle is an ice type, if it is snowing, its defense stat will be raised by 50%, and Iron Bundle is actually a physically strong defense Pokemon, capable of withstanding a few physical attacks, but especially it's frail. Now, it's not doing much against the, 3 special attackers that Professor Sada has on her team, but, it is something to keep in mind. And, of course, Freeze Dry. Freeze hacks. This battle isn't won. Sada is going to have to get around some serious heavy metal hitters, or heavy meta hitters I guess they should be called, like Iron Bundle and Iron Hands. Meanwhile, she has one of the strongest, heaviest hitters of the meta, currently Fluttermane. And now we enter the end game, folks. Sada's end game is very, very simple. Crush Professor Turo's team before she has to bring out Roaring Moon. While the points are showing her the favorite to win, she loses unless she forces Valiant out and she can weaken it enough so that Roaring Moon can finish the job. But on the other hand, she has the Flutter Mane, and this Pokemon is known to crush teams thanks to that high speed and special attack, among the highest in the game. If she trades favorably enough, Flutter can sweep aside the competition enough for Sada to clutch it. Likewise, Turo's endgame is a Valiant v Moon bloodbath, where Valiant only needs to score one hit with its Spirit Break to clutch it. If he can force Roaring Moon out and keep Valiant fresh, even if Roaring Moon sweeps the rest of his team, he wins because at full HP, Roaring Moon, even with a crit, cannot kill Valiant, whereas Valiant, even if it were intimidated once, can one-shot Roaring Moon thanks to that 4 times weakness. Alright, it's time. Head to head. Professor Sada versus Professor Turo. I will be playing this battle 2 times. One as Sada using her team versus Turo, and as Turo battling Sada. Even though I'm controlling the Pokemon, I will try as often as possible to only use the strongest moves available to me versus the Pokemon I'm facing, and I won't swap a Pokemon out once it has been sent in, regardless of if it's an unfavorable matchup. Only using Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon last, as the respective aces of each trainer. The winner will be decided simply by whoever gets the other's ace out first, and they will only lose if their ace falls to the others for whatever reason. So, if, for example, Professor Sada forces Professor Turo's ace out first, but she loses hers, then Turo is the winner in that case. Let's begin the battles. Pick your side for the last time and watch the chaos unfold. Okay, so real quick, people, I just needed to intervene real quick here to make a quick statement. It turns out that I'm gonna have a bit of a problem here with this particular Iron Valiant, because you see, the Iron Valiant used by Professor Turo actually seems to have a, shall we say, an illegal move on it. You see, Iron Valiant does not learn the move Spirit Break until level 91, and I cannot get Spirit Break onto my Iron Valiant due to this reason. So I tried multiple methods to try to get the Spirit Break onto the Iron Valiant for this battle, but for the sake of the battle and for sake of fairness, I am just going to have to teach Iron Valiant the closest move I can, which is going to be Dazzling Gleam, which is only 5 points higher than Spirit Break in terms of damage, and I will only use Dazzling Gleam on Roaring Moon if it comes to that battle. Otherwise, I will use other moves available to me, but I will not use Spirit Break, or I will not use Dazzling Gleam except on Roaring Moon, due to the simple fact that regardless of whether or not Spirit Break or Dazzling Gleam connects, Roaring Moon will hit. So, with that said, let's get into the battle. is wrong with you? Seriously, you threw that battle harder than I threw every match with Nimona just to get through her segments in the story. Why would you go for Snowscape against Sandy Shocks? I get it, you can't one-shot it, but even a single attack would have probably done enough to help out the rest of your team to finish it off. For the most sophisticated battling AI, I have zero understanding why he would set up Snowscape against a special attacker. But, you know, I did the same thing to replicate what he did, and I swear, if I hadn't done that, I probably would have turned it around for Turo's team. But as it stands, Professor Sada has taken the W between these two Paradox Pokemon teams. Truly, it did indeed come down to the Fluttermane sweeping aside the remaining threats Turo had. If I had taken it out with that Stone Edge, I would have probably won with Valiant versus Roaring Moon. Again, because at full HP, Valiant can survive Roaring Moon's Booster Energy Earthquake. I honestly was surprised when, Sada went for the low sweep against the Iron Moth. But, now I realize she was actually thinking ahead. At least as far as her other Pokemon were concerned. I don't know why she didn't use Sucker Punch to KO the Iron Moth when Brute Bonnet came out. That kind of confused me, but, since I didn't use Brute Bonnet when I was using her team, I guess all's fair is fair. But, what were your thoughts on the fight? Did who you voted for win? What would you have done differently? And why did you vote for my Hatterene when I told you not to vote for my Hatterene? Also, are you guys all right with the fact that I had the Dazzling Gleam on the Iron Valiant? I never got the chance to use it, but still, I didn't have any other real options to use a fairy type move that would have been, equal in power to Spirit Break. Because again, Iron Valiant doesn't learn Spirit Break until level 91, which begs the question, why does Turo have Spirit Break on Iron Valiant at level 67? Is there some shenanigans I'm not aware of? Or was it always supposed to have Dazzling Gleam, but they changed it to Spirit Break at the last minute? I don't know. But tell me your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, do the things. I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Bye-bye.